Got a pea cover crop on it since the early spring. We grew some pea greens, some shoots to eat, which is like 2 weeks you can be eating shoots pretty much depending on the weather. So the earliest, fastest green you can get. And then I just come through with this lightweight Broadfork. Meadow creature is the awesomest. And I stand on the walls of the raised bed and loosen it up this way and get this in. And all we did was put this EPDM rubber pond liners left over from a pond project we did for a client, and we put that over the top after we were done eating the pea shoots. Then we just let them grow. Good for the soil, nitrogen fixing. And then we covered it with the tarp. And now we're going to plant our most important crop of the year. One of our most important, which is our winter cabbage. The cabbage that we eat all winter, which we sow in June. We found we need to sow it 20 to 30 days ahead of what you're supposed to, according to the seed packets, days to maturity. Just takes that long for us. So we give it plenty of extra time. So all I do is pull the detritus out, and I'll mulch with that detritus. That's just the crop residue from the peas. The rest has really just been absorbed by the soil. We left the tarp on for maybe a week or two. We didn't really have much sun there for a week. It was very little, but whatever. When it came out, it was hot, so that really killed the crop very easily. Buckwheat dies very quickly too. Oop, I threw more soil out than I meant to there. Just even up the bed. I'll usually use a rake, but honestly, going to just grab a rake isn't worth the time if you can use your hand. That's why co-location is so important, and you got to have tools right near the garden, because you're going to spend as much time going to get the tool as using the tool sometimes at this scale. So it's not worth it to go get a tool sometimes. You got to keep it close. And it's not fun going to walk and get a tool. It's more better to just be in the garden. Hori. Some people garden, I guess, without a Hori still, and it doesn't seem like a good idea. So these cabbages are just barely ready to come out. Come on. Sometimes I have to tickle them from the bottom. Usually not when they're perfectly ready. These were sown on a leaf day, which seems to be helpful. So it's good. It's pretty much what you want. They hold together, but they're not very root bound. Some people will say, John Jebbins, we've been trying to follow his stuff, says plant deeper to the seed leaves, or to the true leaves rather, of the plant. And we'll do that sometimes, but not always. Certain plants will plant really deep for sure every time, like tomatoes, but not always cabbage. We've experienced damping off sometimes with cabbage. I always sow these too close. But then one dies for some weird reason, and then you're like SOL. So let's see. We usually don't damp off at this stage, that's for sure. I'll sometimes I'll try to leave I'll plant like every other, or like in the tray, I'll try to leave some. We learned that the hard way, is don't just immediately give away all your extra starts, because they may not be extra. Something might come in and eat that plant, that, you know, one or two or half of the plants you just put in. And they'll usually do it within a short time of you putting it in, the new crop. So save them. You might want to sow it a second time, because this stuff can stay in here for another week or two easily without it really being worse for the wear, especially if you hit it with some urine, watered down urine, or, you know, some little fish kelp or whatever you have. So I'll take this plant with that in mind, that like I'm trying to like kind of let some sun into some of these guys, because some might stay in for a while. That one doesn't want to come out. We sow enough. We don't need all these. We sow enough that, you know, we're not going to need them all. And we will give a lot of them to friends and stuff, and just neighbors, people that, I don't know, if you're going to sow 20 plants, sow a flat, you know, it's not that much soil. That one didn't come out too well, but it's okay. The act of just sowing it and keeping up with it, keeping it watered, keeping animals off of it, that's the main challenge. So you might as well just sow a whole flat. This bed, I like this for a raised bed. This is a very easy bed. They're only 3 feet wide. I've been moving more towards the full bio-intensive, which are really wide beds, as wide as you are tall, basically. That's definitely efficient, but it's not always very effective. It's difficult. It's pretty good. It's just, the roots are just getting bound, but they're not, it's not a problem. I don't have to like loosen them up to plant. I like to plant right up to the edge, because there's plenty of soil. Look at these guys. This is what the Broadfork does. Look at those big worms. These guys are stoked. Put them back in where I'm not going to be cutting with the Hori. This is a clay loam that is now so good. When we first sheet mulched these beds, this got beat up because I didn't know better, and I didn't keep, well, I couldn't keep the contractors and the builders and friends and stuff we were working on this building with off this south side as much as I wanted. And it's clay, so it got super compacted. And there was no topsoil to begin with, but whatever, anything good that was there got beat up. So you want to fence off the south side of your building, because that's where your gardens are going to be ideally during construction, and rope it off. Don't just tell people don't go there, because they'll go there. They got to be close to the building, but you can definitely keep them at least away from one side most of the time, and certainly don't let them park on the south side of your building when you're building it, or wherever your garden's going to be. Hopefully it's on the south side. It just makes a lot of sense. We'll go 3 rows here. So it's nice. I mean, this bed is pretty manicured now, but with the Hori, you're just going to be able to feel if there's really like a big rock right there. We'll poke through on this guy. Sometimes these flats are getting a little old. I've probably had these flats now for 8 years, some of these, and they're getting a little bit brittle. Oh, this guy's toast. He did not want to come. They're all in pretty similar shape. I always cherry pick them. I go over that a lot with interns. It's like, don't take the worst plants. Take the best ones. You're probably not going to use them all. Always sell more than you need. So, just everything should always be a series of culling on the garden and on the farm. Culling, everything, all the time. So you end up with the best year and over, in the season and year to year. With two people, this is nice. One person can just be pulling them out and handing them to the other person. So you get in a nice rhythm. That's kind of how it wants to go. It's a leaf day today, which for us seems to work well. Go by the biodynamic calendar. Especially for roots. For storage crops, we really try to, not just roots, I mean cabbage is a storage crop, but the roots seem to really store and grow and store better. Potatoes, garlic, onions for us when we follow the calendar. That one's a little in a weird spot, but it's okay. These could go another week in here, but I think they just seemed like they wanted to be out. So sometimes you get the feeling that stuff just is going to grow better outside, especially if it's raining well. I don't know. Sometimes there's just a gut level of just, and every soil batch is different. You know, we do buy some potting soil here and there, but we also are increasingly potting in our own soil. And sometimes it's like, oh, it's just a really good batch. Leave it, let it crank if it's doing well. But sometimes it's like not stoked, and so just, you know, take it out and get it in different soil. I have two in here. See if it's worse for the wear. Oh, so this one has two. And it's not worse for the wear. So the soil, it's not a lack of soil in here. Ooh, sorry guy. Nice big worm. I'm not far enough over to the side as much as I want to be. Let's move over. You don't even need to worry. No. Oh, I didn't want to come. Come on. Okay. One more. This is red ruby cabbage. Ruby red. And I'll mulch it more, probably. We'll see. Not if the weather is staying the same. I won't. I'll let it actually. We could have slug problem. This is kind of an area where we don't let the ducks. They go around all the gardens, but they don't get too close to this one because we want to keep them out of the pond all summer because they'll trash it. They get a sled of water and they have puddles and chinampas everywhere on a year like this anyway. So yeah, that's all I'll do. And I'll just, this pond water is so much better than well water for plants, it seems. So I like to use it. Trays, if they're not really horizontal, by the way, can really not absorb water sometimes. Beautiful little bed. Sometimes we'll mulch a lot, but a lot of times we won't. If it's raining a lot, like this year is super wet, we won't mulch much. I mean, depending on the crop, we'll mulch garlic always, but sometimes it's just, there's not enough heat to have mulched beds and grow the crop. You can see these peppers are, you know, they're looking good, but they're slow, and it's almost August. Pretty soon it'll be August, and this, you know, the nights are going to start getting in the 40s again. They've already been in the 40s on and off all summer. So, you know, peppers aren't that stoked for that climate, for that weather.